Just confirming that it's worked for you.
It's working. I'm admitting people for you.
Fantastic. Great, guys. So I see we've got, I'm not sure how many people are on the call at the moment. We've got 10. Just waiting for some more folks to be admitted. We're 2 minutes in, and I'm going to put something up to ask for your guys' opinion. If you can please go and visit this. So we are going to be using a tool today, which is called Menti. It's very simple. If you can just open up another tab while you're busy here. I'm going to ask if you can visit menti.com and you type a code in. And then the question that I'm asking is, at what stage are you with deploying AI? The reason I put that there is because I think we should get to know each other as a community. It also helps me guide where I go with the presentation and how I respond to that.
Alistair, I've also shared that menti.com link and code in the Zoom chat for everyone.
Perfect. All right, the voting was closed. I've just had to open it with you guys, so please go ahead. And when you put your answers in there, we'll have a view of where everyone is. Please notice your answers are anonymous. I'm using this so that we as a community can get to know each other quite quickly. And when the questions come up a bit later, I can tailor where I focus my attention. Okay, so we've got someone who's new. We've only had 3 answers so far. If I look, we've got 10 participants, so I'm going to hold on until everybody answers, please. For those that have just been admitted, please can you visit menti.com and add the code that's in the chat. It's also on the top of the screen, 5172520, and then select your option. Great. So there's a balance here between people that are new to AI. Thank you for answering. Now I know where to tailor the answers. Craig is in our session and he mentioned at the end of his that this is going to be wild. I hope it's not going to be wild. It's supposed to be safe and easy. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 9 people have answered. I'm going to
wild,
go back
I meant enjoyable.
Okay, the expectations set already. There we go. Perfect. Guys, I'm going to get started. It's 5 minutes in, and it depends on how you answer. I might move quicker or slower on some of the content. So anyway, good morning and good afternoon from Johannesburg, South Africa. My name is Alistair. I'm part of the Democratizing Entrepreneurship community. This was founded and created by Craig. He's on the call right now. EXO Futures. Him and I have been running back-to-back sessions. And before I go into my content, if you didn't have the opportunity to attend the previous session, I sincerely recommend you have a look at Democratizing Entrepreneurship. This is important because our 2 presentations are meant to feed each other. And not only does Democratizing Entrepreneurship link directly to these tools, but we will be going about our way of democratizing AI as well. And that's why ExoCognitive exists, and it's part of the EXO group. So important to know that. Thank you for answering the questions. I'm going to go look at the poll again. Right, so it's mostly new folks and experimentation taking place. What I would like you guys to do is to listen rather than learn, because I've been through the session with a few folks earlier and it is quite content rich. That's on purpose. And there's a whole community to support you, which is called Democratizing Entrepreneurship. Liesel, if you don't mind sticking that in the chat, I think it's important because after you guys get to see what I'm talking about, please come along and join us. And you'll have access to 6 or 7 tools that we're going to send to you after the session. So there are 3 parts to how I'm going to be chatting today. And this is designed for winning entrepreneurs where we've seen proven results infusing AI in business. I'm calling this the pyramid of success. And I'm going to give a foundation. Number one, what is AI? After we've got a foundation, I'm going to speak about 8 business models for the next decade that I think are relevant in a digital world. And then I'm going to expose you to 6 canvases, which many of you have probably seen, but there's a very, very specific reason that I've chosen those 6, and there's a specific order that entrepreneurs can use to bring success. So 3 parts, please bear that in mind, because I'm going to move a little bit quicker now when I go through the content. Importantly, if you want to ask a question anywhere, please stick it in the chat. I'll ask for some help, Liesel, because I can't see the chat now. I'm in full screen. And
no problem, Alistair. I will let you know if there's questions.
Perfect. So let's go. Despite all the doom and gloom and COVID and businesses struggling and entrepreneurs reinventing the world, I believe that the next decade is going to be amazing. And that is because AI will become like the electricity. And it's when people look at AI, they think about only the sciences and technologies of that. But it's important to think that AI will be infused in all of these things that you're looking at on the screen now. This is important because it depends on the kind of entrepreneur and the industry that you work in. You may need to use, for example, IoT in logistics, together with AI, together with analytics, together with blockchain. I'm not going to be talking about these technologies today, but I'm bringing to your attention that it is massive change happening worldwide. Underneath those 25 topics I mentioned, there are 100 disruptive technologies that are busy merging and converging today, which are strongly focused on AI. So, first example, before you run out and get a developer to write a whole bunch of things, you might want to use low-code platforms, and be aware that there are self-writing software that we see emerging. For example, from Google, there is something called GPT-3, where you ask a computer a question. For example, you might be an entrepreneur and say, how do I onboard my customer in 5 minutes? And you will ask this to GPT-3. It'll give you an answer and recommend tools. And you'll have a conversation with machine learning, which is the equivalent of lifelong personal avatar assistance. Now, as an entrepreneur, you may want to surround yourself with some avatars, as strange as that sounds, but it's accessible and it's real today. So there's a lot of complexity that I've spoken about there, many different moving parts. As an entrepreneur, how do you bring all of this together? And before you talk about AI, you need to think about, why am I doing this? You would want to create an exponential organization. And the definition of an exponential organization is one that is an impact that is disproportionately large and 10 times larger compared to its peers. Now, as an entrepreneur, you may be competing against other businesses which are traditional. You may want to reinvent what you're doing at the moment. And it's important to keep in mind always, I'm going to apply AI in my business because it becomes like the electricity that will help amplify what I'm doing inside my business design or transformation. Here are some attributes of what an EXO looks like. And thank you for joining, please. Okay. And I think it's very important to understand that some part of your business will either be digitized now or it will need to be digitized. It's usually a platform. It doesn't have to be, but I see that manifesting in the marketplaces and access, and anything as a service needs intelligence. And the last thing I want to highlight here is decreases the cost of supply. So your marginal cost drops almost down to 0 when you deploy AI technologies. And it unlocks a new business model. It forces you to think differently. The formula for that is a massive transformative purpose. And I'll give you a real life example of what an MTP looks like. I'll come to the 2 acronyms now. But when you use AI, you can get lost in the complexity and not think about the why. So I'll give you a real example. My MTP is to amplify human capability for good. When, when I woke up this morning, I thought, how am I going to help the entrepreneurs who jump on the call today to have real life tools and an approach that will make their lives better and easier after listening to this lot? So as an entrepreneur, find that purpose and think about this. I'm not going to explain the content of all of these acronyms, but what is important to know is that there's a very specific methodology and a bunch of toolkits which gives you structure. And this is a more advanced version of the traditional business model canvas that you might have come across before. One of the attributes is algorithms. And that is so important because the cornerstone is not algorithms. The cornerstone is your business model structure. And please bear this in mind when I jump into the following. So here are some organizations that are successfully using algorithms at the moment. Amazon is actually a logistics and optimization company, not a retailer. So this makes you think about how machine learning is used there. They use AI to create a flywheel effect. They're really good at recommending things. Copenhagen deal with their customers really quickly, and Orange uses automatic billing and conversational AI to deal with their customers. Now, we're going to jump into a bit of the meat. I've tried to summarize what AI is on one page. And this is not a session to have mental karate about deep learning and the right algorithms. This is about, I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, or even an intrapreneur. How do I wrap my head around what AI is first? My recommendation after working with this for a number of years is to start with automating your own business. The name for that is robotic process automation. And those are repetitive activities. For example, if you want to do your monthly billing, if you want to run your invoicing, if you want to engage with clients, you can use cheap robotics. I don't promote software whatsoever, but this is a very practical session. If you're an entrepreneur, you might want to automate your own processes free. And I would recommend having a look at an organization called UiPath. So you can play around with that. They have democratized coding, and it's kind of low code, and it's like Lego blocks that you can apply to your business. That is the gateway to AI, because if you don't have digitized processes in your own business, even if you're going to transform your own business model, you're going to really, really struggle to apply machine learning to it, which is the next step. So let's say that your customer engagement is on a platform and you've automated that. You can now use machine learning to do two things: classify and predict. Now, when people hear the words AI and machine learning, they feel like it's unapproachable and it's complicated and all of that. I can tell you for a fact that machine learning only does two things: classification and prediction. So before you think about the software and what am I going to do with this machine and software platforms, ask yourself, as an entrepreneur, what do I want to classify and what do I want to predict in either my new business or my current business? That's really going to help you think about, what do I want to do before I touch any platform? The reason I'm so confident to tell you this as entrepreneurs is that I've been through 125 white papers to understand what ML is in 2 or 3 words, and that's the answer. So please bear that in mind before you touch the technologies. An advancement on machine learning, which uses a different science, is called natural language processing. And that is a very good way to introduce something called conversational AI. I've put that on the left-hand side. A real life practical example is last week we had a session together around entrepreneurship. And one of our team members is a psychologist, and he said, "Hey, I wonder what I can do differently." My response was, so you're a psychologist, why don't you create an avatar? I'm going to call him Richard, for example. And Richard 2.0 is somebody who lives online that's an avatar, and you take your intelligence and you put it inside that bot, and you can have a conversation with somebody. And then when they are ready to engage you, you can hand over from the avatar to a psychologist. Now, that might sound like an abstract example, but that's a real life digital channel that doesn't rely on borders or countries, or you have to go sit in a room and look at somebody face to face. And think about how you might engage with customers. Before you hire a call center agent or answer the phone or get people to do that in your business, think about natural language processing, generation, and understanding. And don't use many tools. Pick one to start with and then build up. This is a very purposeful circle because it's a progression that you have. If there are any questions, please stick it in the chat. Computer vision is an advancement of what you might have seen in the 2000s, the early 2000s, of optical character recognition. That is like giving robots eyes, which might sound a bit weird. We see this manifesting heavily in self-driving cars. That's the best and most advanced example. You as a business owner or entrepreneur, I would recommend using computer vision for documentation and handwriting on paper. If you have documents in your life, even if it's PDFs, when customers onboard or engage with you, they don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to write to you. They don't want to onboard and give you all the detail. They just want their problem to be solved. And the minute that you have documentation involved, I sincerely recommend, for example, using the combination of computer vision with RPA in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to pause for a second because I see something in the chat. The company you recommend is UiPath. Okay. So I don't promote software. I'm choosing the easiest free way for you to experiment after the session. The last thing I want to highlight is narrow AI, or artificial intelligence, is the umbrella term for the collective technologies and sciences that you are seeing here. The reason I use the word narrow is because quite often people throw the word around the room, artificial general intelligence. That does not exist today. AGI is the equivalent of mimicking the human mind, and we're not there yet because machines are not sentient. They don't have emotions and empathy and that sort of stuff. So just to help as an entrepreneur, if you can limit your thinking to what's on this page for now, it might be one of the quickest ways to inject it in your business. There are two things that you can do with AI. Before I do that, there's an online poll that I would like you guys to please answer. After seeing that mouthful, can I ask you to visit this, menti.com, and use a different code? It's not the same. I'm going to go and stick it in the chat. And my question is, would you like to learn more about this through an in-depth AI course? So you've just seen the whistle-stop tour, or a summary of what the AI landscape looks like. There it is in the chat. I need to open the voting. Please give me 10 seconds, guys. Perfect. If you don't mind visiting there. This will give us a temperature check of if there's a need for deeper knowledge. So today is not in-depth whatsoever. This is like 1 hour. It normally takes at least a month to orientate entrepreneurs. Craig, you're off mute.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if it's because I was on other Menti tabs, but I'm not getting to the voting. So I don't know if anyone else is having that problem.
Is it possible to open a new tab, and after you type in menti.com,
other people are voting, so I assume that's just me. Okay, cool.
and then
I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I think you might have just been quick because I had to open the voting. It was closed. All right, spark the curiosity. Please don't worry about feeling overwhelmed. This is a safe and fun way to approach AI, guys. Okay, spark my curiosity. There's a lot of curious people here. Anyway, there's some more interesting stuff that's going to come up now. So 11 out of 15 have answered.
That 15 includes you in the count. That's
Right,
actually 11 out of 14.
Thanks very much. So you guys are curious about that. At the end, I'm going to highlight. So we're going to be launching something called ExoCognitive, and that's an AI academy directly linked to democratizing entrepreneurship. And we're pretty excited about what we're going to put into the market a bit later. And you'll get a flavor of what's going on there now. So I started off to say, what is AI? And I've showed you one page. Now we're going to look at what I call capabilities. What can you do with these sciences and technologies? And I'm only going to pick maybe one of these things. Please remember, I'm going to send this information to you. There's a short video and we'll email the outcome so you can come back and look at it. Please relax and just listen. Take out the popcorn if you want to, and you don't have to learn everything in this session. So sentiment analysis is quite important. If you have a platform and customers are engaging with you, you might have a business and you've got like 1 year's worth of emails from 300 people. Let's pretend you've got that. Now you might want to use analytics to understand what is the top questions that or problems that customers are engaging you on. And when you do that, you can say, awesome, I've got a team of 10 that have been communicating with all of my customers and each other. I would like to use machine learning and natural language processing to understand the top 10 keywords that have been used in my business over the past year. Now that is very insightful. You don't have to have interviews and sit with people in the room, ask your customers questions. You can use your history to inform where you might want to make changes in your business, and the data is there already. There are many, many different answers you can use. For example, publicly available data. There's GitHub, there's Twitter. You can mine that data for free. And if you're interested in a topic, let's say short-term insurance is important to you and you want to provide a new platform, you can go and scrape all of that data and use Microsoft Azure cognitive capabilities. That's a platform which is cloud. I recommend having a look at that. You can get like 1 year access to 12 modules for free. If you're an entrepreneur, please pay attention to them and Amazon, and you can understand sentiment all around the world.
Alistair, there's one question. I don't know if it's maybe relevant now, but before it gets lost, Brennan Williams is asking, what type of input systems could one use? And is suggesting now maybe WhatsApp?
Yeah, perfect. So WhatsApp is a tough one because the security around that is quite tight. My answer is, if it's a digital channel, the answer is yes. Because, I mean, you can scrape the web, you can go to GitHub, you can use Telegram, you can use WhatsApp. All of them just become a data flow stream into an engine. And then you need to choose what you want to do with it. So the answer is yes. But I also I've fiddled around with WhatsApp, and I know the security measures are quite tight, as I mentioned. If you own or have access to a digital channel, the answer is yes. And you would probably immediately want to use natural language processing and some automation around that, and then store that data in a cloud and choose how you want to apply analytics or insights and NLP, for example. So thank you for the question, Brendan. There's another chat coming through. I coach entrepreneurs on WhatsApp but not multimedia. Perfect. So I think are limiting, whereas APIs are more accessible. So Brendan, I'm very, very happy to have a chat with you and 1 or 2 DE community members, because there's a lot of things we can chat about. If you coach entrepreneurs on WhatsApp, awesome. It depends on how you do that. You might want to harvest the information, or you might want to create a self-help avatar with your coaching knowledge. And I'll leave it there for now. So the answer is yet, but please come and join our community. That's quite a long conversation, and I believe we can be super helpful for you. But you need time to answer that. It's not going to be a 30-second answer to you. Group and individual. Chat in the community. Perfect. I mean, when the question comes up, I will address that in a separate session. We're going to have deep dive sessions. There's one happening in December. If you have a question that you want answered, stick it in the chat and we'll address it directly. Like, these are names of tools, technologies. This is the science you need to use, and this is how you get into those channels. So please be aware there's a second session. Pattern recognition is quite important. When you deal with structured and unstructured data, you might want to take numbers with chat. And machine learning is very good at understanding patterns so that you can predict. Just watching the time here, guys. Computer vision is quite accessible. As I mentioned earlier, please pay attention to how you can use it. That's quite a powerful tool to have in your hand. I use the example of customer onboarding. So this is a worldwide problem. How do I engage with you as business with the least amount of friction? I don't want to phone you. I don't want to fill out forms. All I want to do is get what you are selling. So for example, if you're a bank, if you're an insurer, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to bring them into your database, you might say, okay, please just come onto my platform, take a selfie and talk to my avatar. The computer vision will store the picture of your face as a customer. You will use natural language processing to convert speech to text, and you can use that for GDPR compliance, for data storage, to feed an avatar, to interact with people. So you're seeing now how I'm starting to combine these things with a customer experience and an employee experience. Super important. Now you think, if I'm going to build a customer journey and I've got my team, there's me and a new business, how do me and my team interact with all of my customers in the world? Now you start plugging in these technologies in those journeys, and you can see there's some very exciting things that you can do using complex technologies that are somewhat democratized today. I just want to pause and look at the chat because I see some stuff coming in, guys, before we carry on. You could use Twilio. Cool, thanks. Brennan is very active. I invite you to join us. We'll chat a lot. I would like to move on. Predictions. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, guys. A virtual workforce is becoming a big thing around the world. People normally get a bit nervous and they think, oh, a robot's going to take my job, and like, what's going on? Your staff might get a bit nervous and think you're going to put in automation. The answer is no. The way that you do this is you think about, for example, I mentioned a customer journey and an employee journey integrated, and you're connecting your internal business to the external world. Now you might have, Alistair, I'm an employee, or I work in your firm and I need to interact with the world at large. You might use intelligent automation, or the first kind of robots that I mentioned at the top, RPA with machine learning, to augment what the people do. So instead of having a whole lot of people sitting and answering questions on the phone and email, what you might do is hand that off to a robot. And instead of your staff dealing with non-productive matters, you might say, I want to invite you into a value-add session, and I'm pushing content to you, which is unique to my business. Now you make your employees' jobs far more exciting. It's not like you took the job away. I've worked, for example, with people in a call center that were nervous they would lose their jobs, or even smaller businesses. What we did there is saying, okay, we're adding new things that we're bolting onto the business, and now I'm going to engage with you personally. So Brennan, your value offering is coaching people. You might want to remove the mundane stuff in terms of having an avatar, and then you're going to say, I think that I can help you work in these unique parts of Africa because I understand the regulation. And if you want to open a business in Johannesburg and Lagos, I can coach you on how to deal with the cultural differences and integrate languages because I've got the tools, which are cognitive technologies. That's a whole different way to go to market. And I would like you guys to think about this robotic workforce as augmenting and supporting people, not replacing them. All right, I'm not going to spend time on planning. So this is meant to help you guys. Please have a look. Please don't be overwhelmed because there's 113 companies on this page. But should you as an entrepreneur want to deal with finance and operations, if you look at the red pointer, here are some companies that are worth thinking about. Now, what I'm trying to do is make your life easy to say, Cool. I'm going to deal with digital commerce. I need to deal with productivity, HR and recruiting. These are AI companies that are worth paying attention to that can help. So in the beginning, my recommendation was pick only 1 or 2 platforms. And my recommendation to start for free is UiPath and or Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services and or Amazon Machine Learning Stack. Amazon is just absolutely gigantic. I mean, I think they've got 40 or 50 different types of tools inside there. So the reason I'm pointing out the big platforms is that you're now going to have Lego blocks, and you think, instead of me choosing between 113 companies around the world, what is my value proposition and the problem I'm going to solve? And you start picking off the capabilities that you need, not the technologies, very different. Pick the capabilities that you need to solve your problem or the customer's problem. Start with the big platforms that have got credibility and massive capabilities in the market that are tried and tested. And then when you need kind of boutique offerings to either power your business or put a value proposition in the market or transform, then you can start looking at these technologies I put on this table. First steps, pick a customer problem, identify who your customer is, and then the data that you need. I've tried to make it simple by speaking about customer onboarding. You can apply this to anything in life, but don't start with the technology and then think, oh, what piece of software must I use? Is it expensive? Whatever. And then don't try and think you can sprinkle machine learning on your processes today and magic happens. Always please start with the problem. Like I've got high friction in my engagement with customers, and onboarding is tough. So once you've done that, I've tried to highlight data that you need. For example, I need a way for you to not fill out a form, and I need you to get into my ecosystem in 5 minutes. But to do that, I need your voice, I need your face, and I need your permission. And now I need to apply those technologies. So that's a way of thinking about how you engage. And then experiment. What I've learned is that don't spend months on this stuff. Run a sprint, 2-3 weeks maximum. Go onto those platforms and then experiment a lot. And when I mean experiment, get a minimum viable product ready that you can put in front of trusted customers and say to them, you're an early adopter and we'll make it free for you if you participate in our beta cycle. Please be aware that some things are going to break, but our value to you is, for example, you'll get a month free on our platform. All right, so these are very, very practical steps in terms of how to go to market. Any questions before I speak about business models?
Alistair, I have one. I'm just sitting here thinking that, and I know you did say that you're using the customer as an example. Would you say it's best to start with an external or an internal approach to adopting AI in your business? It's really, I'm having that debate with myself in my head now. It's not going well.
No, what a fantastic question. Perfect. I didn't think about raising that. So I've tried this with quite a lot of clients. It depends on the size of your business, but the general rule is always start internal, because you need to learn about yourself, number one. And if it goes wrong, it better go wrong inside and not in front of the customers. Very, very simple. I've watched customer-facing processes get killed. For example, I've dealt with a massive bank in South Africa, and they put a chatbot out there, and it couldn't answer the questions because it was hard rules. It wasn't conversational AI. They put it on Facebook and it killed the whole Facebook channel. Madness. So my recommendation is experiment at home and cook in your own kitchen before you're going to sell the food out in the public. Very important. And good question. Thank you.
Thanks. And leading on to that then, is there the simplest approach then? I know you had your step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 there. What could be a very simple internal example for our entrepreneurs to consider implementing AI internally?
Right. So before they implement AI, I would take a a process that is that's quite manual and repetitive, like invoicing, for example, or reporting. Even if you have to deliver reports to customers, or running a payroll is another one. Pick a process that is quite intensive either on you or your team, and only automate that first internally. And then you can start applying some like analytics and machine learning and those sort of things. Businesses are so diverse, and I get this question all the time, like, Alistair, give me the recipe. What's the name of the process that I must tackle? Now, we can't know your business. We would typically spend a day or two, and we have toolkits to understand where to do that. But my advice in 3 minutes to you now is pick a simple process that's repetitive and painful and try and automate it, number one, because the most valuable thing you're going to get about that is that you're going to learn how to apply it to your business. It's not about success the first time. It's about you learning about your own process and how you use that technology, because then some things are going to break, some things are going to work. And then when you learn how to do that, you can start repeating it. So I hope that answers the question without calling out the name of a process there's no silver bullet for it.
Oh, thanks, Alistair. There is a question from Oliswa in the chat about the models that you've showed before, all the platforms you showed before. Craig did answer, but I think for everybody's sake is, are all those free or?
No ways. No ways. So everything on this, in the AI world, there's very few things that are free. In fact, what I would just recommend is, that's why I've said pick a platform, and I named 3 or 4 of them. Everything on this page, all 113, cost money, and they're mostly subscription models. And they're like, you have to rent CPUs and GPUs and all that nonsense. So there are some freemium things. I will send something in the pack after this. There are some freemium, or there's even open source technologies. There's about 6 or 7 of them. What I want to highlight to you is that when you use open source technologies in AI, you've got to be quite heavily skilled in the development. And there's a reason why people charge money for these, because these are like Lego blocks that anybody in the world can use, and they're specialized in certain areas, compared to open source, which is free, but then you've got to be quite heavy on the coding and building and understanding how it works. Okay. I hope that answers it. Thank you for the questions. So we are running short on time. On business models, I'm only going to focus. There are 8 business models that I feel are worth paying attention to in the next decade. The crowd economy, free and data. I'll explain these quite quickly, and I'm going to move quite fast, guys, because there's a lot left on the canvases, and I want to focus on that so you get some value. The smartness economy, closed loop, less important to entrepreneurs. DAOs are emerging, and they're quite interesting. They run on themselves. Network effects and transformation, I think, are worth paying attention to. So bearing in mind, you're going to be, this is going to be sent to you. I would only like to speak about maybe 3 of these. I'm going to start at the bottom with examples. What exists out there? I participated in helping a crowdsourced like employment platform on a 2-sided digital marketplace earlier this year. And what I'm seeing is that the crowd economy in a platform world is emerging at high speed, because it's a very easy way to create a value proposition where you're not selling yourself and people and time. You create a value proposition that uses a platform and cognitive technologies. So a good example here with crowdsourcing or staff on demand, in fact, is quite important, because crowdsourcing in a platform is a big story. If you guys are familiar with like Upwork and Fiverr, I did something a bit different where people will answer questions, and the crowd is as follows. You will answer a bunch of questions as an individual, and we'll profile your brain, and then we'll recommend and match you to the demand side of the economy. That's a very good example of taking a crowd economy where a whole lot of people need to do stuff and they're selling their skills, and then you recommend them to the demand side based on what they need. All right. If you own knowledge, or your customer's own knowledge, you can either take your data, mine it, as I recommended earlier, and then you can sell it again. So you monetize knowledge, and you might monetize recommendation. You might monetize insights. And what you do is, if you've got a bunch of customers already, you might say to them, please, can you give me this data? And it's maybe psychographic data. It's not just a survey. And you monetize that thing out in the market, and you might do it on your own, or you might do it with your community to say, create collective knowledge with me, we'll mine it, and then create a digital asset which is based on knowledge, and then sell it in the market. Now, you might want to automate a big community of people that do that in your special domain. And I think this is worth paying attention to. So you're swapping data for a monetized channel. The smartness economy, I'm not going to focus on that. Closed loop, not right now. DAOs are important. When you take artificial intelligence and blockchain together, you can create a DAO. What's important to understand is that there are absolutely no employees whatsoever. So you build a business from the ground up, and everything is recorded on the blockchain, and you take those technologies that I showed a bit earlier and you wrap it around the blockchain, which means it's the equivalent of having only digital avatars and a business that runs on its own. I recommend visiting dexdao.io at the bottom for some insights there. This is very, very new and a little bit complex, but it's super potent in terms of building businesses that run on their own in the future. AR and VR, I'm not going to spend time on that. And nothing here. I have a quick poll, please, if you don't mind. It's starting to get quite a mouthful. And I would like to ask, please, if you could go back to Menti. And the question is, what do you feel that you as an entrepreneur need to be successful? Bearing in mind, we are not close to what you are as a community are in your business. I'm trying to open up what you think you might need so that we can address that a bit later. Please give me 10 seconds. I need to open the poll. Similar to just now, can I ask please that you visit menti.com and use a different code, which is in the chat. And that is free-form text. It's not a poll. So you can say anything like, I need templates, I need education, I need this. Please, if you can type those words in, what this will do is it will create a word cloud, and all of you will collectively be able to see what entrepreneurs think they need after listening to this lot before I go into canvases. There's something in the chat. I'm just going to have a look.
I just shared the code there. Your share didn't come through.
Fantastic. So type anything you like. Please remember, this is anonymous. It's about us learning what entrepreneurs would think they need. So full stack AI platform. Perfect. An example of that I mentioned. So full stack. Yeah, it doesn't really exist nowadays. The closest thing that you will find is Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Cognitive Services. Those are very big cloud platforms, and they've got kind of a lot of those tools that I mentioned earlier. The question is, what do you feel that you as an entrepreneur need to be successful? Okay, awesome, guys. Here it comes. Here it comes. Beautiful. So I think the more you type, the better, because we're going to, when I see these words coming up, then I get excited. The first thing I'm going to say is, please come and join the democratized entrepreneurship community. And we will use these words to come back to you in terms of how can we support you guys as entrepreneurs in both the entrepreneurship and the AI space. Access to market, that's a tough one. Exactly. Free available stuff. Yeah, look, I get it, guys. When you build a business from scratch, who wants to spend money when you don't know enough and there's a possibility that it's going to fail? So, you know, that exactly, try, explore, free available. I get it. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we know you don't want to throw money down the drain. no code options. So Craig does a lot of work in the low code space. And there's a very specific reason why we are connecting these different worlds of ExoFuture with ExoCognitive. You need to build a business, and you can't lose your mind about getting the base right. And you can't lose your mind on like spending too much time understanding AI. That's a worldwide problem. So no, we call it zero code options. Lego blocks is another way. So there's definitely, there's like 3 or 4 workshops popping out of here. I'm not going to put a timer on because I see people are typing. You can type more than once. So algorithms on customers. Yeah, exactly. So that's analytics, fundamental guidance. Yeah, so there's a there's a reason why we're putting this AI Academy together with the Exo Futures is to answer some of these things. And we're going to use the words you've got here to inform the content we put in there, I think. Assertion, I'm not sure what that means over there. Process automation, exactly. Personal mastery, perfect. You need a clear head. So mindset. When I see that, please try and attend the session tomorrow, which is called Democratizing Entrepreneurship. There's something called the entrepreneurial brain, and that helps you with personal mastery. I know that entrepreneurship is like a roller coaster ride, and there's a lot of good things that you'll spot over there that will help you. And there's a community that sits around that. All right. There's only 11 minutes. So I've really, really enjoyed this, guys. Thank you for the feedback. We'll use this to help you. But I need to go back into the presentation, and I want to cover off canvases. Sorry about this. It's a little bit untidy, but I didn't want to embed the online questions in my presentation. I wanted to keep them separate. Perfect. So there are 6 canvases that I've specifically chosen. You guys might be very well familiar with all of these already, but this is a sequence that I've thought out and I've tried in terms of go-to-market for entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs and corporates. So a value proposition makes you ask the question, what problem am I solving, before you even get anywhere near AI. Once you understand the problem you're solving and who you're solving it for, innovation is one of the big keys on how you transform your business and bring in AI. The lean canvas, which is known to everybody, will help you show what you need to change in your business today before you apply AI. And then you want the results to be exponential. So I've linked the lean canvas to an exponential canvas. In the beginning, I showed you guys the EXO canvas with 11 attributes. One of them is AI. And then we directly link that one attribute into something which is an AI canvas at the highest umbrella level. And then underneath that, there's a machine learning canvas that I'm going to leave with you guys. So this session is not about teaching you what these tools do. It's the order and the tools that you need to use as an entrepreneur. And there's a reason why I said, please just get the popcorn and don't treat this as a like learning and memory exercise, because there are 3 big topics that are working here: AI, business models, and Canvas. And feel free to engage us afterwards around questions you have. But the big thing is, what is the pain that the customer is trying to solve, and what is the job to be done? If I think about disruptive innovation, for those people that have worked in the space, Clayton Christensen, he found out in Boston that people are buying milkshakes not because they're thirsty, but it was the fastest way to stay full while they're sitting in traffic. Who knew that? So that's a customer job to be done. And once you've been through your value proposition, here is a free toolkit that I'm going to send to you guys. It's an online questionnaire. It takes about 20 or 25 minutes. And some people who are not used to combining business models with innovation and AI might need support. You can visit the website at the bottom, and at the end, you will get an answer that shows you where you are strong and where you need to pay attention in innovation. There's some stuff in the chat. Let me see what's happening here. I have to drop off. Perfect. Thanks, guys. And you'll basically get some output. So you'll take what came in the first canvas, and then you'll answer a bunch of questions, and you'll find out where you need to strengthen up as an entrepreneur to innovate in the market before you touch AI. Most of us are familiar with the business model canvas and the lean canvas that comes from Eric Ries. The only thing that I've done different is I've put blue text in here in case people are not used to using it. But what this does is it allows you to rapidly get into the market using some of the channels and the resources. And resources are the cognitive technologies and sciences I mentioned earlier. 8 minutes. After you've taken what I would call a traditional high-speed startup canvas, and even if you're an experienced entrepreneur or a corporate, you need something that keeps your head focused, and you need ways to communicate into the market, because now you're dealing with ecosystems, value propositions, AI, cognitive technologies, how to make it exponential. And it's a lot to keep in your mind at once. But if you take these 6 things and you put them next to each other, it gives you an order that you can start applying AI and experiment. And most importantly, I have a personal saying that I've learned to kill my darlings. Don't fall in love with an idea and then you think that AI is going to solve the problem. If you see that thing's not working after a sprint, choose to stop. All right. There is a very good book that is worth paying attention to. It's called Exponential Organizations. Please look it up. It's one of the best sellers in business literature that's out there at the moment. And this has taken the top 140 organizations around the world, such as Airbnb, Facebook, GitHub, all those guys, Uber. And it looks at what are the attributes you need to inject into a business to make it exponential. Algorithms is an area that you might want to take those technologies after reading up a little bit more about the structure. Again, this is something that we can help you with in the DE community. Now, here is a busy canvas, but it's busy on purpose because this is like going through a maze. And have a look at the left. Let me just turn on the laser pointer. What is our goal? We're an online marketplace for clothes. We want to review thousands of open-ended questions to discover what is blocking our users from purchasing. This is an AI canvas where a company in the Netherlands has used natural language processing to solve a problem of why are my customers not buying? What's going on? They're asking me questions. You need data. When you test it, then you find out, are you happy? So you might test internally or externally with your customers, but look at this in the bottom right. They went through the process. I didn't know what they did before this AI canvas. I've created that now, but an uplift of 3.61%. When you see that, it might not be good enough. You might think, oh my goodness, COVID is hurting my business. I need a 30% uplift. It's not worth using NLP to answer that question, but you need to get to that answer quickly, which is why the lean canvas is there, and which is why the EXO canvas is there to make sure, are you getting the big enough gains? There's something in the chat. I just want to go and have a look, guys, please. YouTube, perfect. Great. So the flow. Now remember that artificial intelligence is the umbrella term, which you would look at a big problem or your whole organization or kind of big projects or big changes in value propositions. When you come down to the nitty-gritty of people in your team that are actually going to do the work, this is an elegant or neat way. Think of this as a campfire. So people sit in a room and they're going to talk about machine learning, and you've got these like big concepts going on, making this come real, with yourself as a business owner and a technical owner and sales and marketing, for example. This is a safe and easy way to bring your people together and say, what problem am I solving? What data do I need? Am I even collecting it? What models? So you'll see here the value proposition will be customer. Features will be your technical people that need to understand what machine learning types am I going to apply. What kinds of there's hundreds of models out there, but the short story is it helps you as a business owner who may not be technical to engage the technical world and make the right decisions to answer those problems I mentioned a little bit earlier. 3 minutes. My last slide is just to highlight to you that this AI Academy is going to be launched. We think it's going to happen in December. We're busy creating the material now. If you're interested, instead of waiting around for December, please go to this link. I think Liesel has kindly put that in the chat. Join us there. You're going to find myself there. You're going to find Craig. You're going to find a whole bunch of other active entrepreneurs that are thinking about different topics, who are diverse. It just so happens that my focus area is around exponential organizations and AI. So come along and join us. There are weekly Friday sessions where we tackle all sorts of things to help entrepreneurs become successful, including AI. If you want to, you can scan the QR code at the end when we email this. We have your details. Feel free to join me and ask questions on LinkedIn or in the community. And my big headline is, it's possible to remove complexity and it's possible to have excitement in the AI domain, because I believe that entrepreneurship and the power of AI can create a whole new world, which is accessible to people. So I would just like to see, are there any questions? We have only 2 minutes left. Feel free to ask anything you like. I might not answer it, but feel free.
Awesome
There's
job.
Craig.
Thanks, Alistair. And I don't have a question except, you know, that we're very keen to support everybody to progress this journey, which is not a question.
Exactly, perfect. Great, guys. I'm
Awesome.
going to close the
Thank
session and so there's stuff happening in the chat.
Yeah, it's just thank yous. People
Anna
can't
Marie,
wait to learn more.
Vijay, no, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. So I'm personally both excited and passionate about helping entrepreneurs have fun with AI instead of getting bogged down with all this complexity.
So I think I just want to mention to everybody, because I did get private messages as well, people wanting to learn more and go into more in depth. And I did say that we are launching a in-depth course with yourself, Alistair, in December. You did briefly refer to that at the beginning, but look out, and it's going to be quite exciting.
Awesome.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
1 minute left. So thank you so much for giving us your time, guys. I hope that you can leave with valuable stuff and excitement today. And we look forward to meeting you in the DE community to kind of continue what happened here today. So take care, good luck, and have fun.